You're watching ABC7 News at 7.
Not one Floridian will pay a dime more under our plan. Not one.
Just saying, let's get $1 billion here and throw it over there. Government budgeting is much more complicated than that.
Gubernatorial candidates Ron DeSantis and Andrew Gillum lay out their plans for education spending. Which one do you prefer? Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohn, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on the education plans of Andrew Gillum and Ron DeSantis in a moment. But first, our top stories at 7. Hurricane Michael's path looks to be heading towards Florida, but exactly where? Let's head over to ABC7's chief meteorologist Bob Harrigan with the first alert forecast. Bob.
Well, in the world of politics and weather, this is the October surprise, and it's going to be a major hurricane, too, it looks like, as it heads toward the panhandle of Florida and making landfall sometime midday Wednesday as a Category 3 hurricane with winds up to 115 miles an hour, gusts much higher than that as well. It's getting better organized. It's now in the Gulf of Mexico, just to the northwest, to the western tip of Cuba. And you can see these deep purples here starting to show up. That indicates high cloud tops, more storms gathering near the center. Conditions are becoming more favorable for this to strengthen. And thus, the forecast models are suggesting that it will be a 3. It'll be a 2 as early as tomorrow afternoon, right around 2 o'clock, as it starts to move northward in the Gulf. It's going to stay far enough away from us that we're not going to see any hurricane force winds here. The cone of uncertainty is very narrow, and that's a good sign for us here along the west coast. There are no outliers suggesting a turn to the right at all at this point. Top winds are at 80. We're going to intermediate advisory before the end of this newscast, but the winds are expected to go up as the pressures have been falling. A reconnaissance aircraft investigating the area just about an hour ago suggesting that they got a pretty big pressure drop, and that would indicate a strengthening system. Here's the forecast again, making landfall sometime around noon on Wednesday with winds up to 120 miles an hour and gusts as high as 150, and then moving right through Georgia as a Category 2 hurricane possibly, and then off through the Carolinas where they don't need it. It'll be moving fast enough, though. They shouldn't see a whole lot of rainfall there in the Carolinas and Georgia, but Tallahassee certainly could get slammed by this storm with hurricane force winds there. They are under a hurricane watch there in Tallahassee. Hurricane warnings have been posted for the coastal locations. I mentioned all the models are tightly compact into one area, so there are no outliers suggesting maybe a turn to the right at all, and that's due to a trough of low pressure which has set up to the west of us. Right now, the hurricane warnings are in effect from the Swanee River area all the way through to the Alabama and Florida border, meaning hurricane warning, hurricane winds likely throughout that area. We're under a tropical storm watch over parts of the Sun Coast, and that's from the coastal waters all the way up Longboat Key and also from Anna Maria Island northward for the potential. That's the watch, and the good news is that the 5 o'clock advisory that came out did not change this over to a warning. And a lot of time that indicates that there's still some potential there that we're not going to get those tropical storm force winds, say 40 to 50 miles an hour sustained. But we will see some breezy conditions tomorrow with isolated tornadoes possible. There's that trough of low pressure which will drive this storm to the north and eventually to the northeast into the panhandle from anywhere from Apalachicola eastward to the Big Bend area. We'll have more on this storm coming up in just a few minutes. Alan?
Bob, thank you. Governor Rick Scott warning residents of the Panhandle and the Big Bend region to seriously plan for the impact of the rapidly developing Hurricane Michael. Michael is expected to bring storm surge, rain, flash flooding, and tornadoes. Scott is reminding Floridians how dangerous this storm can be.
This storm will be life-threatening and extremely dangerous. Impacts from wind, rain, and storm surge could begin tomorrow night. This means in 36 hours.
And remember, you can find and track Hurricane Michael as well as any weather-related news by downloading our weather app. Just go to the App Store and search ABC7 WWSB First Alert Weather. Floridians who want to cast a ballot in next month's midterm election must register to vote by tomorrow. The November 6th general election ballot will include statewide races for U.S. Senate, governor, and 3 cabinet offices, along with 12 proposed constitutional amendments and congressional, legislative, and local contests. As of the end of August, there were more than 13 million registered voters in Florida. Of those, nearly 4.9 million were registered Democrats, while there were more than 4.6 million registered Republicans statewide. Turnout for the 2014 midterm election in Florida was 51%.
This year, the interest has been big. It's looking more like a general election in a presidential year than a general election in a primary.
As of this morning, nearly 12,000 Floridians already turn in vote-by-mail ballots. To sign up to your existing voter registration, just visit the website at www.registertovoteflorida.gov. A reminder, ABC7 will be hosting the must-watch debate of the season. The race for Congress in the 16th Congressional District is one of the highest-profile races in the country. Both candidates, Republican Vern Buchanan and Democrat David Shapiro, will face off Tuesday, October 23rd at the Trapezoid on ABC7 at 7. You can help me with the questions. Just submit your ideas to me at Alan M. Cohn on Twitter. Two candidates for governor with two very different visions of public education in Florida. ABC7's Taylor Torregano is here with details about each plan. Taylor.
Alan, Representative Ron DeSantis vows to cut administrative costs and put the savings into school choice programs, while Mayor Andrew Gillum wants to increase the corporate income tax rate to raise $1 billion for public schools. So which one sounds better to you? The choice is yours.
It's a driving factor behind many family decisions. Where will the kids go to school? After 8 years of having a say on education in Florida, Rick Scott's time is up.
Different than my opponent, I actually believe in public education.
During a visit to Sarasota last week, Democrat Andrew Gillum told a crowd at Siesta Village that he's Scott's best successor because of the need for education reform.
My opponent is in favor of siphoning more and more money away from the public system and into the for-profit charter school system. What I'm interested in is reforming our education system in such a way that not only do we prepare our kids who are interested in going on to college, but for those who are not, I want to make sure that they have access to what my older siblings did.
Access to woodwork, mechanical, electrical, and technical training programs that will still enable students to be successful if they choose not to go to college.
And unfortunately, we've done away with that in the state of Florida, and the consequence has been that 44% of the people in our state say that they cannot make ends meet at the end of the month.
Gillum says he also plans to increase the corporate income tax rate to raise $1 billion for traditional public schools. This will also create a minimum salary of $50,000 for teachers. Sarasota School Board member Shirley Brown says she supports this idea, but told Gillum himself that there's an easier route to get to the same destination.
I told him, you know, you don't have to raise the corporate taxes to get an extra $1 billion for education. All you have to do is freeze the 25% automatic increase on the corporate tax credit scholarship.
Brown explained that the scholarship automatically, by statute, increases 25% every year if the demand is high enough. It's scheduled to reach $1 billion next year.
In Gillum's term, it would increase to $2 billion. So if he just froze those dollars and not allow that to increase, he would have an extra $1 billion that he could use for public education or other things.
On the contrary, Republican Ron DeSantis plans to increase the cap for that Florida tax credit scholarship. It's a program that was established in 2001 to provide an income tax credit for corporations that contribute money to nonprofits. Those nonprofit organizations then grant scholarships to lower-income students who want to go to a private school.
Ultimately, what Ron and I are committed to doing is ensuring that all of our children have the highest quality education. And whether that means that those students with special needs and disabled students that currently avail themselves of scholarships and take that money and go elsewhere because they found that those schools are a better fit for them, we want to make sure that parents are in control.
DeSantis and his team also plan to require 80% of education spending to go to the classrooms, while promising to cut bureaucracy and administrative costs.
And that's something DeSantis has been focused on. When we talk about funding, the more funding needs to be going into the classrooms. You have to be very cautious of ensuring that it's not getting stuck at the central office and administration.
Of course, on both ends, there is skepticism about each candidate's ability to successfully execute his plan.
The idea that DeSantis wants to raise it to 80%, it's a fraudulent claim. I mean, there's already spending 70% in all classrooms across the state of Florida. What more is 10% going to be? They need to spend smarter, not more.
While another watchdog group says Mayor Gillum can't just expect to move $1 billion to public schooling.
Will it really supplement the previous expenditure, or will it supplant some of that expenditure and allow other money that used to be used on education to be funneled off to other places?
Now, as far as the debate over private and public school funding, Republicans say there is a lot of misinformation out there, but their beliefs boil down to giving the parent a choice for their child's education. Democrats insist this choice only funnels more money into private schooling when there is a dire need for that funding in the public school system.
Taylor, thank you very much. We have it covered from both sides of the debate, along with the renowned education reporter known for keeping them honest. The Trapezoid is next.
I just need a second.
Is your weight holding you back and affecting your health?
Did you see this? Your cousin had a heart attack.
Really?
Excess weight or obesity can be serious, but you can do something about it. Visit yourweightmatters.org. Download the free toolkit to prepare you to speak with a healthcare provider. Your weight does matter. Accept the challenge and take charge today. Visit yourweightmatters.org.
Excuse me a minute. Hi, Dad. No, don't try to get up.
Hi, I'm Julie, a right-at-home caregiver. And if I'd been caring for Tom's dad, I would have noticed some dizziness that could lead to balance issues. That's because I'm trained to report any changes in behavior, no matter how small. So Tom could have peace of mind.
We'll be right there. We have to go.
Hey, Tom, you should try Right at Home. They're great for us.
The right care, right at home.
I heard about the Detoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Detoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was. I can tell you that you will not find a finer, more professional team of clinicians anywhere in the world.
Did you know you could get life insurance for less than 32 cents a day? With guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage, you can get up to $25,000 in protection with a single phone call. TrueStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you're gone.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
And even if you're on a fixed income, prices fit your budget, starting at less than 32 cents a day. Plus, your price will never increase and your benefit will never decrease. And with no medical tests or health questions, you cannot be turned down for any reason. Call 1-800-842-7189. Now, for a free, no-obligation quote, TrueStage offers plans to fit your budget. Help protect your family from immediate financial burdens after you're gone with guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage. Call 1-800-842-7189. Now.
Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at mysuncoast.com/dining. ABC7, the Suncoast's official Florida lottery station.
Welcome back. They are drastically different paths when it comes to the type of education our kids will get, and it's up to you to choose. In short, Democrat Andrew Gillum wants to increase spending on public education by $1 billion by raising taxes on corporations and raising teachers' wages to at least $50,000 a year. Republican Ron DeSantis also wants to put more money into the classroom by looking for efficiencies while also expanding school vouchers, which would help lower-income students attend private schools. And joining us for more are Shirley Brown of the Sarasota School Board, State Representative Byron Donalds of the Republican of Naples, and Elizabeth DeGinnis, education reporter of the Herald Tribune. And Shirley, I know that you have an alternative idea for Mayor Gillum should he be elected governor, but if it comes down to raising the corporate tax, what chances would that be getting it through a legislator, assuming the legislature assuming it remains in Republican hands?
Well, I like that Andrew Gillum understands education, public education, and how it's going to change families, the intergenerational poverty. He was the first one of a family of 7 kids to graduate high school and then college. He knows that when you invest in schools and public education, you invest in our students and our teachers, you are investing in Florida and Florida's futures, not only our students and our children, but also our businesses. It's our whole economic engine for our state is education.
We'll get into it more, but still you're dealing with a Republican legislature likely, and Representative, that's where you serve. And the question I have for you is, if you're talking about looking for efficiencies in the budgetary process here, you know, there are school districts like up the road in Tampa which don't even have enough money to run and fix their air conditioning system. So what efficiencies are you looking at?
Well, what we're talking about there, first of all, is efficiencies in the operating side of the budget. What Ron DeSantis wants to do is to make sure that at least 80% of all dollars on the operating side of the budget actually get into the classroom. The number one thing that actually helps to feed is increasing teacher salaries. You see, if you actually were taking where we are right now, about 73% statewide of dollars spent for education are spent in the classroom. If we get that to 80%, that raises about $1.2 billion. The other point I would make is this, is that I understand Mayor Gillum's point about wanting to make sure that children succeed, but in the 21st century, children proceed by finding education choices that suit their needs, and that is what Congressman DeSantis supports.
Elizabeth, in short, do you think most people really have an understanding yet of where these two candidates stand on education?
I think there is understanding, and I think in some ways they're very opposed, in some ways they're similar, but I think that, you know, to the point of increasing resources towards the classroom, it's difficult because there are plenty of times where you see teachers raising money on GoFundMe for classroom supplies. I mean, it's hard to say whether there really are a lot more operating costs that can be cut or can be made more efficient.
Well, and then you see these for-profit charter schools, and they'll take 12% off the top for management fees. How does that putting it into those classrooms? It doesn't make any sense to me.
You're teasing our next segment.
Okay.
All right. Our conversation on the education plans of Andrew Gillum and Ron DeSantis continues right after we get a check on the first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Storm is getting stronger. It's getting bigger, too. This is Michael heading into the Gulf of Mexico. Already there. Water temperatures out ahead of it. Extremely warm, upper 80s to near 90 degrees. And we're seeing an explosion of storms right near the center of this system, which is still a hurricane category 1, but could be a category 3 major hurricane before it makes landfall somewhere in the panhandle of Florida. Well, here's what the risks are for us here locally along the Sun Coast. We'll put the tornado risk at medium. As some of these bands make their way through on Tuesday, there's a potential for an isolated tornado to pop up. Damaging winds, we don't appear that we're going to get the sustained tropical storm force winds here. There's still a chance at about 30%, but that chance has been lowering over the afternoon. As far as storm surge goes, that's in the moderate risk, where you could see a 2 to 4 foot surge along the islands there in Manatee County, and a little less, maybe 1 to 3 foot surge into Sarasota County, less in Charlotte County. But high tides are running extremely high right now, 2 feet. And you couple that with the storm surge, you're going to see the potential for some coastal flooding. And then on top of that, rip currents, a big deal, as well as coastal erosion and a high surf advisory in effect for coastal waters. Now, as far as the forecast winds go tomorrow, they're manageable. Winds will be out of the east and southeast at around 20 to 25, gusts as high as 30. Now, the gusts may be a little higher near the storms that will pop up here and there. They'll be scattered about tomorrow, those storms. It won't be an all-day rain, but we'll see periods of showers, and some areas won't get much at all. Rainfall totals could be anywhere from 1 to 2 inches, with some isolated areas getting 3 to 4 inches. And the winds will stay brisk even on Wednesday, and they'll switch more to the south coming in from the Gulf of Mexico. That's when we'll start to see some piling up of the water as well. High tide on Wednesday morning, just around 1:30 or so for coastal residents. And then again, at 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll have another high tide on Wednesday, which will also be crucial in terms of determining how much surge we get here along the area beaches. Now, as far as those tides go, there they are, the next high tide, 12:47. Shouldn't be an issue on Tuesday morning at 12:47, but Tuesday afternoon at 1:39, it could be. And then again, I think more importantly, at 1:08 on Wednesday morning is when we'll see a lot of that surge racing ashore as a result of the storm starting to move north of our latitude at that point. And when the storm moves north, our winds switch to a south to southwesterly direction, and that piles even more water on. But a surge will be a potential problem throughout the day on Tuesday. Don't get me wrong, but I think the tides will be a big factor as well when that surge occurs. Now, as far as the storm goes, it's moving into an area of less shear. Now, it's really developed in an area with strong shear, which is highly unusual, but the water temperatures are so warm here. That's the reason why the forecast models are suggesting a Category 3 hurricane as it makes landfall. Right now, it's a 1, but the pressures have dropped significantly over the past couple of hours as the reconnaissance aircraft was flying into the system. You'll notice the forecast continues to get stronger. Here it is at Wednesday morning with winds at 120 miles an hour, gusts up to 150. And this is as it makes landfall. So you see those winds come down a bit, but they could actually be a little bit stronger there right before landfall. And a storm that's gathering strength when it makes landfall is much more dangerous than a storm that's losing strength as it makes landfall as far as the category goes. You can see this is the forecast wind speed percentages of us getting tropical storm force winds. In Sarasota County, much of it, it's at 20%. Manatee County, it's at 30% right now. There's no real threat of it diving to the right or switching directions and heading to the right into us as a result of this big trough of low pressure, which will drive the storm basically to the north in time. We've already had wind gusts with one cell that moved through earlier today in Manatee County up to 40 miles an hour. Of course, we'll keep a watch on these storms. We've got to look out for these rogue storms. They have a potential for producing quick and isolated tornadoes as they get closer. There's that 39-mile-an-hour wind gust at the airport. The forecast calls for some of these banding features to work their way through Tuesday mainly and into Wednesday morning as well. Well, as far as temperatures go, one benefit, at least we'll see slightly cooler temperatures, right? Red tide, a lot of questions on that too. What's going to happen? Well, whenever you mix up the water with a contaminant or pollutant in it, it will have a tendency to break it apart a little bit. Let's hope that happens. Rain chances staying high through Thursday. High temperatures into the mid to upper 80s. Alan will be back with his guest right after this.
Blue 32, Blue 32, hot, hot. It's the Ghetto Gridiron Challenge. The game's on to sell 2,000 vehicles. 12 teams compete for the #1 spot. Score a great deal at every Ghetto dealership. Buy with 0 down. Make no payments for 90 days. Choose from 14 of your favorite brands, all on sale. Who will make it to the end zone? You decide. Rush to a Ghetto location near you or visit Ghetto.com.
Ghetto's got it.
Strong storm, the trees are down and the lights are out.
No air conditioning, no refrigerator.
I get how strong the storm was, but I need my power back.
We get it. We don't just work for FPL, we're customers too.
After a storm hits, restoring power safely and as quickly as possible is our #1 priority. That's why we never stop preparing. We have the best resources in place so we can be ready to respond in good weather and bad.
Storm season is here. We're ready. Are you?
Your last chance for 2018 Honda Accords on sale is now during our model year-end sale. Drive new Accords for just $249 a month. Get an Accord, the North American car of the year, for less than the competition. With more standard features than Camry, Honda Sensing, multi-angle camera, turbocharged engine, and more. New Accords, just $249 a month. Your last chance for Accords, all on sale this week at your local Honda dealer.
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare. You may be eligible for an all-in-one Medicare plan that combines hospital, medical, and prescription drug coverage together with extra benefits that may include dental, vision, hearing aids, and much more. Some of these plans have a $0 monthly premium regardless of your income. That's right. For one low plan premium, or in some cases a $0 premium, you may be able to get coverage for your hospital visits, doctor appointments, prescription drugs, routine dental care, eyeglasses and contact lenses, hearing aids, and possibly more. Today may be the first time you've heard about this type of Medicare plan. The advisors at the Medicare.com helpline are licensed insurance agents who will explain more when you call. Call now to see if you qualify. Call the number on your screen now. Call now to see if you qualify for these benefits. You worked hard for your Medicare. Now is the time for your Medicare to work hard for you. Not affiliated with or acting on behalf of any government agency or program.
Mascara adds depth to the eyes. Lipstick gives the mouth color and definition. And ALS paralyzes the body.
You look great, Mom. Thank you.
Slowly taking away the ability to move and eventually breathe.
Welcome back. We are talking about Andrew Gillum and Ron DeSantis and their competing visions of education in Florida. And joining us for more are Shirley Brown of the Sarasota School Board, State Representative Byron Donalds, a Republican of Naples, and Elizabeth DeGenis, education reporter at the Herald Tribune. And Representative, let me pick up where Shirley left off there, because she's making the point that if you're talking about adding money to the classroom, at the same time with vouchers taking money out of this public education, those things don't jive together.
Well, first of all, that's just simply not true. The money that goes into the Florida Tax Credit Scholarship is money that if those children actually were enrolled in traditional public schools, that money would be there for those children. That's how the system works today. But what we have seen with the Tax Credit Scholarship is massive demand, frankly, from pockets of our state where you have single parents or parents who are at or below the poverty line, children who are come from minority households, and those parents looking for any opportunity possible for their children to be successful, and they have found that in the Florida Tax Credit Scholarship.
Shirley, let me give you a chance to rebut that.
Well, it is dollars that would have gone into the general revenue that go into this other program. And there are, Orlando Sentinel did a great article, Schools with No Rules. I mean, the teachers do not have to have graduated from high school, let alone hold a teaching degree. I mean, some of the schools are great. We've got some here in Sarasota. And I have to mention, I am not here as a school board member. I'm here as a former legislator who understands some of these things. I mean, that's why I'm here talking about his plan, as a Democrat, not as a school board member. But when you take money out of general revenue and you put it into a plan like that, and I just don't understand why they're asking for more and more regulation and oversight on our public schools when they turn around and give money away with no strings attached, no oversight to these other programs. They don't even check to make sure how many of those kids that are getting those scholarships show up for school every day.
That's just plainly not true. A couple of things. In the last legislative session, I was actually the one that worked on the legislation that increased accountability for the Tax Credit Scholarship Program and the other voucher scholarship programs. That's number one. And number two, what we've seen, the data clearly shows that the students that go to these programs are more likely to go to college and are actually doing better than their same counterparts that stay behind the traditional public schools.
And Elizabeth, we see, hold on one second, I just want to get your take, Elizabeth, because we see this battle fighting out at the Sarasota School Board and in Manatee County.
Right. I mean, I think it's funny. I'm getting like recollections of our recent school board elections, just hearing these conversations. I think we see this play out on a local level. We see it play out on a state level. It's definitely defined conversations here, and often it does fall to a partisan divide of, Republicans are supporting many Republicans are supporting school choice and vouchers, and many Democrats are not.
Right, we have to take a quick break. Obviously, we are just getting warmed up. Our conversation on the education plans of Andrew Gillum and Ron DeSantis will continue after a quick break.
Did you know you could get life insurance for less than 32 cents a day? With guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TruStage, you can get up to $25,000 in protection with a single phone call, and you cannot be turned down for any reason. Even if you have health problems or are living on a fixed income, guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance policies could work for you, with prices starting at less than 32 cents a day. That's as low as $9.40 a month. TruStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you're gone.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
My mom didn't have life insurance and the cost all fell on me. And that's expensive. We're still paying for that.
Yeah, we're still paying for that.
Call 1-800-218-4991 now. In one phone call, you can help prepare your family with protection amounts up to $25,000. There are no medical tests or health questions. And remember, you cannot be turned down for any reason. In fact, TruStage policies are already protecting over 18 million Americans. And rates are designed to be affordable, starting at less than 32 cents a day. That's as low as $9.40 a month. Plus, your price will never increase and your benefit will never decrease.
When I leave, everything will be taken care of for them.
Call 1-800-218-4991 now for a free, no-obligation quote. TruStage offers plans to fit your budget with prices starting at less than 32 cents a day. Help protect your family from immediate financial burdens after you're gone with guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage. Call 1-800-218-4991 now.
I'll be right back.
Supan, part of the U.S. Paralympic rugby team. In my game, movement is everything. I get frustrated when my move is blocked, especially when that guy has no right to be there, even just for a minute. I love a challenge, but I don't like to play this game every day.
A message from the United Spinal Association.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Get breaking news alerts focused on the Suncoast. Download the ABC7 News app. You're watching ABC7 News at 7:30.
Welcome back. We are talking about Andrew Gillum and Ron DeSantis and their competing visions of education in Florida. And joining us for more are Shirley Brown of the Sarasota School Board, State Representative Byron Donalds, Republican of Naples, and Elizabeth DeGinnis, education reporter for the Herald Tribune. Andrew Gillum said it is an embarrassing indictment that Florida teacher pay ranks 45th among states with salaries $12,000 below the national average. Surely, is that a reason why we have problems with our public education? Is it only about salary?
It always isn't only about salary. The teachers don't want to come to Florida because there's a one-year contract. You can't hire them for longer than 1 year. I mean, some of the things that the Republicans have put through, you know, they always talk about no regulations. It's no regulations unless you're a public schools. You know, then they want to pile on more and more regulations. That doesn't make sense to me. But, you know, they want to regulate the teachers and how we have our contracts with our teachers. They want to regulate how we grade our teachers, how we pay our teachers. You know, there are some teachers that can't get an increase because, you know, their students didn't perform as well. So you have teachers not wanting to even go into some of these poor performing schools. It's rough. And when you see nationally less and less people wanting to go into education because, you know, it's traditionally been women. Women can make better money out in the workforce than they can in the classroom.
Representative, would you agree with Mayor Gillum's proposal to raise teacher salary to $50,000 a year?
I think all teachers should make more. But the thing we have to realize is that in the 21st century, what we want to do is pay great teachers more. And poor teachers, we really don't want to pay more. What we should have is a system where teachers are allowed to negotiate their wage with their employers directly, not be saddled by the bargaining agreement. Listen, right now in our state, if you have a fantastic teacher in Sarasota County and they decide that they might want to go to a private school because they're going to get paid more, or they just want to leave the profession altogether because they're going to make more money, the school district can't even go and say, no, let's pay you the extra $5,000 so we can keep you because you're of quality. That's the way it works in every arena in our life in America. But in the teaching profession, our great teachers are bound by these contracts, by this massive union contract. So what we should be doing going forward is getting rid of those burdens so teachers have an opportunity to negotiate with their employer directly.
Elizabeth, where are we in Sarasota County and in Manatee for that matter when it comes to openings in the teacher profession and the ability to fill them?
Well, I want to start actually with the salary question just because I think that's interesting. In Sarasota, I think we're at $43,000 for starting salary. Manatee is $45,000, so $50,000 would definitely be an increase in both of those counties. But as to openings, yeah, I think in both counties, teacher retention and teacher shortage both of those are big problems in the counties, and having open teachers or substitutes that end up teaching the whole year. So it's definitely an ongoing issue here.
Right. Shirley?
Well, one of the ways that the legislature came up to pay teachers more, because back then we were 10,000 below the national average, they said, all right, if you had up in the higher 20% of on your ACT or SAT, you can get an extra $10,000. Well, you know, that didn't help a lot of teachers that we already had, because some of them, the scores were too old to even get. But where was the correlation between if you had a high SAT or ACT score that you were going to be a better teacher? What we had was these teaching programs where they would get national certifications. We would pay them more for those teachers to then mend and help with the other students and the other teachers. So it was like, after the Republicans came in, they took that program away. I mean, so these teachers who had invested all that time and effort getting that national certification, and then they were supposed to then mentor other teachers, you know, all that money went away. And instead, then they come up with this plan about this extra, you know, $10,000, which they don't even have the money to pay. I believe it's $6,000 now. But where's the correlation from what you get on an ACT test versus how well you are in a classroom? There's a lot to be doing with a teacher besides just knowing the facts.
All right, Representative, let me ask you this, because another essential part of Congressman DeSantis' campaign when it comes to education is cutting bureaucratic waste and administrative costs. Right. Is there really a lot of waste and costs in, you know, the school districts around here, from Naples to Sarasota to Manatee?
Listen, there's always room to be much more efficient with public dollars, and that's the thing we have to understand first. The reality is that a lot of resources are going into the classroom, but there's much more that can happen. And to talk to the very core of your question about trying to raise teacher salaries, the best way to do that is to get as many dollars into the classroom as possible. We have great teachers who've left the classroom and have gone into administration because they get paid more in administration than they do in the classroom. Those are the facts. So what we have to do is get a system of education where we have to get as much resources into the classroom as possible. This is one of the reasons why Congressman DeSantis supports school choice, because if you have more schools operating, and they're operating in an environment where children are finding the education that suits their needs, where parents are truly empowered, then those resources get to the teachers that are actually educating these children every single day.
Let me ask you all about this, because we had a recent report about the number of charter schools in Florida that have been mismanaged in terms of its budget, and some going out of business. Shirley, where do you look at charter schools in terms of expanding those or basically reining them in?
Well, I think it's those for-profit charter schools, because if you talk about more money to the classroom, when 12% off the top goes off to a management company, I mean, and when you bring in for-profit into the mix, I mean, that's where I think you start taking dollars away from the schools, and where you're getting schools who are on these boards that are giving the contracts to their friends, and you know, when it's for building the school, whether it's for insurance in the school, whether it's for getting the computers or anything into the classroom. I mean, if they're not following state contracts like we have, you know, then they can make those, and all these other people along the way can make money, but the real money is being made in a lot of these schools in the buildings itself, in the overpriced leases that they have to pay for.
Hey, Representative, let me get you to respond to that.
A couple of things. Number one, whether it's a for-profit charter or a nonprofit charter, the reality is that are the children being educated? That's number one. To use Shirley's number, about 12% going to these CMOs. Well, that 12% is already significantly less than where we are right now with our school districts, where really only about 73% goes into the classroom. In charter schools, you're well over 80% today. That's number two. But number three, and one thing we have to understand in education, our superintendents in our state, they're all actually getting paid very, very well. In our larger counties, the superintendents in our state, when they're done with their careers, they're going to be millionaires. When our school districts go and acquire books or computers, they're not getting it from nonprofit companies, they get it from for-profit companies. So this argument that when you introduce a for-profit charter, that's somehow taking money away from students is laughable and ridiculous. At the end of the day, it's our children learning? Are they on the path to succeed? And as long as those things are happening, whether you're a superintendent or you run a charter school management organization, whether it's nonprofit or for-profit, those things don't matter. What matters is, are the children succeeding?
Elizabeth, do you get a sense in terms of how this community is when it comes to expanding charter schools, and also some of this negative publicity showing the number of charter schools that have been mismanaged and have basically gone out of business?
Yeah, well, to start with that point, I think there was the recent report I think you're talking about. There was one finding that I want to say it was like between 12 and 14% of charter schools that had issues with their internal audits. But I think at the same time, you have to look at locally. We have had some very high rated charter schools. I want to say all of our charter schools have ranked between, most of them are A's and B's. I think there was one C this past year. So I think that, here we have very high performing charter schools. But I do think that for local voters and for people who are interested in these issues, it again really is a partisan issue, and that it falls to kind of that.
Okay,
and
we have to take a
choice. We've never had more choice in public schools than we have right now.
You're jumping the gun. Final thoughts are coming up in just a moment, Shirley.
Thank
and we're
you.
going to get to that in a moment. Stay with us.
Outdoor living is one of the greatest perks about living in Florida. So whether this is your style, or this, or maybe this, contact Superior Pools. They've been building pools from Sarasota to Naples since 2001, and they would love to build yours.
Rugs as Art. You know the name, you know the building, but do you know what's inside? Yes, Rugs as Art is Florida's #1 area rug superstore. But there is so much more. Amazing furniture, accessories, and art. All this and more. Come see for yourself. You'll love our personal touch and be pleasantly surprised by our affordable prices. Rugs as Art and more. There is so much more to explore.
I feel happiest when I'm out enjoying my favorite things, like spending time in my garden. That's why I need a Humana Medicare Advantage plan.
Many Humana Medicare Advantage plans cover everything from emergency care and hospital stays to doctor office visits and prescription drug coverage. In fact, last year, Humana Medicare Advantage prescription drug plan members saved an estimated $6,900 on average on their prescription costs. Humana has a large network of doctors and hospitals, plans that include vision and dental coverage, and most plans include Silver Sneakers Fitness and a rewards program, all for a $0 monthly plan premium in most areas.
Now I can be happy and healthy and keep enjoying all of my favorite things.
Your health and happiness is important to us. Call or go online now to get your free decision guide and see how a Humana Medicare Advantage plan can help keep you enjoying your favorite things.
The following message is brought to you by Mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. How did I get this disease? What are my treatment options? How will this affect my loved ones? You need answers, which is why we offer a free book written by medical professionals who have treated mesothelioma.
Call toll-free at 1-800-777-1366 or go to mesobook.com.
My name is Blake. I received a heart transplant when I was 2 weeks old. I play defense for the Red Hot Tornadoes. Sometimes my heart starts pounding like faster and faster as I go. I know I have someone else's heart inside me. It makes me feel happy because someone was generous enough to give me a second chance to live.
This gift of life was made possible by an organ donor. Imagine what you could make possible. Sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.
Outdoor living is one of the greatest perks about living in Florida. So whether this is your style, or this, or maybe this, contact Superior Pools. They've been building pools from Sarasota to Naples since 2001, and they would love to build yours.
And our guest joining us right now for final thoughts. I'm going to ask you all the same question. Shirley, beginning with you, what, in your opinion, is the biggest difference between Andrew Gillum and Ron DeSantis' approach to public education?
Well, reason I'd like to have Gillum there is because he could veto some of these things that are coming through. Like, I think it's unconscionable that we let bureaucrats decide how much money is going to be spent on the vouchers the following year based on, the automatic 25%. That was a law that was passed in 2012. Unconscionable. Legislators should make that decision. And I also think that when they said they're going to have to give this company the top 200 taxpayers, again, we would have gotten a veto on that. But I think what we need to do is put the brakes on it for now, all this fast growth that we've got, because nothing should be growing that fast, and take another look at it. I mean, I'm not saying all public schools or private schools are bad. What we need to do is increase the level for all students, and then just put a freeze on where we are right now and look at it and come back with some changes.
Representative, the biggest difference between DeSantis and Gillum on education?
The biggest difference is that Ron DeSantis believes in empowering parents. And Andrew Gillum wants to actually roll back a lot of these choice programs. He has said that repeatedly on the campaign trail. If you're a parent and wants to have opportunities for your child and do everything in your power to do that, Ron DeSantis is going to be the governor that fully supports you.
Elizabeth, do you get a sense from the people who keep a close eye on education around here that something radically needs to be done to change where we are in terms of our public schools?
Well, I think there's kind of a difference between the state and what we see here locally. I mean, especially now that we both have optional property tax referendums in both counties, I think that that's really had an impact on local education. But I think education is a big issue, and especially for voters, I think it's something that they think about. So one of the things I did think was interesting is there hasn't been a big stance on school security from either candidate that I've seen, and that's been such a big issue. So I wonder how that will impact things going forward.
That's one thing that we did not get to tonight, but we will get to it next time. Thank you all for being here. Before we go, we want to share with you what some of you had to say about Friday's show on the week in Washington. After weeks of deliberations, an FBI investigation and a hearing, Brett Kavanaugh was confirmed last week to be the next Supreme Court justice. We have seen both protests and support over the decision, so we asked you on our Facebook page, will this decision motivate Democrats or Republicans in the midterms? 46% of you said Democrats will be more motivated to vote, while 54% of you said Republicans will be more motivated. Here is what some of you had to say. Richard says, Democrats are more united than they have been in years. There will be a change that you can bet be on. Tired of the red hat haters who are against everyone who do not share their opinion. My ballot came today, blue all the way. And Bob says many polls are showing a surge in GOP voters. Most Americans are fair-minded and didn't like watching a bunch of phonies trying to railroad a guy with no evidence. Well, if you'd like to join the conversation on tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/mysuncoast. We want to thank our guests for being here tonight. Shirley Brown of the Sarasota School Board, State Representative Byron Donalds, a Republican of Naples, and Elizabeth DeGinis, education reporter at the Herald Tribune. When we return, President Trump was in Orlando today, but it was who he was flying with that's the real story. Now let's head over to get a final check on our first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Well, all eyes are on Michael, obviously, and for us, the coastal residents especially are going to feel the impacts of Michael more than anyone, I think, as a result of the storm surge and high surf advisory. We're already starting to see some of those bigger waves starting to roll in well in advance of Michael, and they're only going to get bigger throughout the day on Tuesday and even into Wednesday as our winds start to switch around more to a west-southwesterly direction once the storm passes north of our latitude. Now, as far as the waves go, there will be a lot of surfers out there trying to ride some of those waves throughout the next 48 hours. And look out for the rip currents. Rip currents are a real deadly scenario that plays out along our area beaches when we get into a situation like this. Again, there is some chance for some coastal flooding, too. We're under a storm surge flood watch, storm surge watch for the most part right now. We could see tides running high up to maybe 2 to 4 feet in some areas in Tampa Bay and also along Longboat Key and into Anna Maria Island. You can see not a lot of rain right now. We've had a few brief storms move through, all the heavy rain down to our south and near the center of Michael. And there's Key West right there. They're getting some of those banding features moving down in right now. And the system not too far away, in fact, just over a couple hundred miles southwest of Key West. There's the center. It's moving off to the northwest now, it looks like, bringing some heavy rainfall into Cuba. One lone area of showers right here. They're moving rapidly off toward the west-northwest, and we're going to see a lot of easterly wind throughout the night tonight, so there should be no concern with any kind of flooding along the area beaches or along the islands tonight. Tomorrow morning, it will still be out of the east-southeast. When it starts to change around to the south later in the day tomorrow, more so on into Wednesday morning, is when we'll see the potential, I think, for some coastal problems as far as flooding goes. Now, those winds will stay. They'll be brisk out of the southeast throughout the day tomorrow. We're talking 20 to 25 miles an hour, some gusts as high as 30 at times. And with the cells moving through, you could get wind gusts higher than that out of the southeast, though. But notice by Tuesday late, they start to change a little bit more out of the south there. And that means south-facing beaches and waterways will have a little bit more problem with that storm surge. And even on Wednesday morning, we're out of the south at 20, and then out of the south-southwest at 24 to 25 miles an hour. And this, coupled with high tide, will cause some problems, especially along some of the area beaches and some of the roadways that typically flood in that kind of situation. The storm itself is getting better organized. A lot more convection developing on the west side, and that means that shear that had been inhibiting the westerly development is now starting to relax somewhat, and that will allow this to gain strength and become a Category 3 hurricane, we do believe. As far as the forecast path and track goes, off to the north, then to the northeast is a trough of low pressure. Pretty likely that it will pick it up and race it off to the northeast, but Tallahassee now under a hurricane watch, and they could change it over to a hurricane warning before long. Inland hurricane warning is called. They're not going to see the problems with any kind of storm surge there, but they will in Appalachia Bay as well as right around the Big Bend area. Here's some of the buoys that reporting winds right now up into the gust range near tropical storm force strength there out in the central Gulf, and that's still over a couple hundred miles away. In Key West, the sustained winds at 20 with gusts up to 29. Those will get stronger though as that storm starts to intensify. This is a future cast showing some of those banding features making their way through Key West. A lot of the heavy rain will stay offshore. We're anticipating 1 to 3 inches of rain in some places. Isolated areas could get a little bit more than that, but it's not going to be a widespread rainfall event for us because the center is going to be so far away to the west of us, so we won't see as much. Now, high pressure slipping off to the east will bring us that, actually protect us from that thing turning to the east and causing an impact on our immediate coast in terms of heavy wind. Temperature is much cooler behind the front, and that front is going to stay well to our north. It looks like long-range indications are that we will see a cold front here on the 16th of October that'll be moving through. We'll see how that plays out. A lot can happen before then. Good chance for showers and scattered storms. We'll get back to an easterly wind as early as Saturday and Sunday, and that'll be good news for red tide. Alan will be back right after this. Stick around.
Did you know you could get life insurance for less than 32 cents a day? With guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TruStage, you can get up to $25,000 in protection with a single phone call. TruStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you're gone.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
And even if you're on a fixed income, prices fit your budget, starting at less than 32 cents a day. Plus, your price will never increase and your benefit will never decrease. And with no medical tests or health questions, you cannot be turned down for any reason. Call 1-800-842-7189. Now, for a free, no-obligation quote, TruStage offers plans to fit your budget. Help protect your family from immediate financial burdens after you're gone with guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TruStage. Call 1-800-842-7189 now.
Our nation's servicemen and women show great courage and leadership both on and off the battlefield. When they transition to civilian life, they can apply the skills and values they learned in the military to the workplace. That's why the Coalition to Salute America's Heroes is urging employers everywhere to be smart, bet on a vet. Hiring a veteran is also a great way to show your appreciation for them. To learn more, call 1-888-44-SALUTE.
Me, pick me. Oh, come on, man. Oh man, I love technology. Hey, check out my new phone. Look at this right here. For years, the DeSoto Club has needed improvements. Join me and Boys and Girls Club of Manatee County as we raise money to build a brand new facility. It will be bigger and better, just like it was 40 years ago when I attended. Invest in kids, build great futures.
Pets bring so much joy to our lives. They're loyal, they're protective, and smart. Yet as smart as our pets might be, they can't advocate for themselves, especially in the event of a natural disaster. During Hurricane Harvey, many families were separated from their pets. That's why it's important your pet is part of your family's disaster preparedness plan. Talk to your veterinarian and visit banfieldfoundation.org/disaster. Don't save it for a rainy day.
Recovery from mental and substance use disorders is real.
You can recover.
It's possible. It happens every day.
Never give up on yourself.
Discover hope and help.
The world is a beautiful place again.
Join the Voices for Recovery. For confidential information for mental and substance use disorders, call 1-800-662-HELP.
ABC7 News at 7 weeknights.
Checking primetime headlines, President Trump was in Orlando today, but the big story is who he was traveling with. ABC's Karen Travers has more from the White House.
President Trump flew to Florida today to talk to police chiefs. Joining him on the trip, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. The president sending strong signals that Rosenstein has job security for now. It could have been a very awkward flight. President Trump and the embattled Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein sitting down to talk on Air Force One.
But we had a very good talk, I will say.
The White House wouldn't say specifically if President Trump and Rosenstein discussed the Deputy AG's job status. But earlier today, Mr. Trump gave his most definitive answer on that.
No, I don't. No.
Rosenstein has been a frequent target of the president's anger and frustration over the special counsel's Russia probe, which he oversees. But last month, it went beyond that. Sources say President Trump was furious after the New York Times reported that Rosenstein suggested secretly recording the president and had also talked about the possibility of invoking the 25th Amendment to remove Mr. Trump from office. Rosenstein denied that publicly and to the president directly.
He said he never said it. He said he doesn't believe it. He said he has a lot of respect for me.
Exactly 2 weeks ago, Rosenstein was summoned to the White House to meet with Chief of Staff John Kelly. Sources say Rosenstein was expecting to be fired. The president granted him a temporary reprieve.
My preference would be to keep him and to let him finish up.
But it's not clear how long President Trump is going to keep Rod Rosenstein in that job. For now, it seems he's been convinced by aides and allies to not make any dramatic moves ahead of next month's midterm elections. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Hope Hicks has a new job, and some might argue it's not all that different from her old job. Hicks will be Fox News' new Executive Vice President and Chief Communications Officer. That means she will run public relations along with other aspects of the television company. Hicks served as the White House Communications Director from last August until last year. Until she resigned in February, she was one of the president's longest serving and closest aides. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.